Morning at 8:08. I'm Kira Clapper. We are breaking into your programming right now because we are following breaking news about a tsunami advisory issued for the west coast of the U.S. and that impacts all low-lying areas of the Bay Area. This is following an undersea volcanic eruption in the South Pacific. The volcano erupted near the island of Tonga. It has turned into a tsunami warning for that area and a tsunami advisory for the Bay Area all the way down to Santa Cruz. We have video of the Santa Cruz North Harbor being evacuated as the water levels are beginning to rise. The information from VNA Arana is that people need to just stay away from the coastline along the Bay Area. Let's check in with VNA for the very latest on what people can expect as we head out this morning.
Yeah, and I had a few viewers say that they were on an early morning walk and they noticed that the waves were getting, very strong in the area. So the message is stay away from the water. The tsunami advisory for the West Coast includes the entire West Coast, not just the Bay Area. And the biggest threat is going to be those strong currents and also dangerous waves, potential of 1 to 2 to 3 feet in rise. Now, it is expected to also impact, those low-lying areas near the water, the potential for flooding in low-lying areas to be swept out of the area in through the stretch of the coastline. But another thing to keep in mind, too, is that this threat is going to remain in place for the next several hours. Impacts could come up after the initial threat, which right now the National Weather Service is saying that the tsunami is expected to reach San Francisco this morning at about 8:10. So that's right about now, with a high tide being at 9:09. And some of the areas, especially the Marin headlands, could see some of that flooding as well. We're also starting to notice some experiencing initial water perturbations around Point Reyes and Monterey area as well. The impact to our coast and bays will be over the course of several hours, and the highest waters have the potential to maybe not arrive until hours after the initial onset. So even if it looks calm, you need to stay alert. This is going to be something that's going to continue throughout the entire day because of that rise in water. So here's a closer look at what to expect. So again, the National Weather Service issued a tsunami advisory for the entire West Coast. That includes California, Oregon, Washington, British Columbia, Alaska. 1 to 3 feet rise in waves is possible, with the biggest threats being in those highlighted areas that you see on your screen. So what can you do to be prepared? Well, here's a closer look. Tsunami expected right now in San Francisco at about 8:10. So we're right on track with that now. Now, the message is to move higher inland. Stay away from the water. There's going to be dangerous currents and you have to wait for the all clear. This threat may last over the course of several hours after the initial arrival of what is expected. So I had, again, several viewers message me, oh, maybe that's why the water was looking rough as I was heading out on my morning walk. Maybe you have family and friends that haven't had a chance to check in with the news or their social media. Give them a phone call, shoot them a text message. You want to stay on alert because, again, this threat is going to last over the course of several hours. Even though the tsunami right now, the timing is 8:10, and this is what the National Weather Service initially said, and the high tide is expected at 9:09. So with the high tide and the tsunami arrival, this could make for even bigger waves, which is why we want you to stay away from the water, move higher inland. If you live near the water, that's another message as well, because the impact is going to continue for the next several hours. That's the biggest message there. So you don't want to head out after you've seen. The good news is that I have seen, police activity around the coastlines, making sure that folks stay clear of that. And we had a live shot of Santa Cruz, and we saw several officers out there, patrol cars, making sure that folks were staying clear of the water. Now, again, a tsunami advisory. There we go. That's a live look right now in Santa Cruz. And, a tsunami advisory is considered a less level threat than a tsunami warning, but it is still a threat. So the National Weather Service has ruled out complete inundation. However, those crashing waves and, of course, the dangerous waters could make for dangerous conditions because it could catch someone off guard. You're out there on your early morning walk with your dog, and it could sweep you off of the water. So here's another live pic right now. And we're going to continue to see this again for the next several hours. So even though it might look calm and it might look peaceful to you as you're heading out this morning, the threat is going to remain as that dangerous energy continues to sweep in through those waters, and that's what's going to create create the biggest impact. Also, I know that they were evacuating some of the boat owners that live on the actual water, so that's something to be mindful of as well. You can see zooming in there, we've got police activity right near the coastline. Where was this location? If my producer could let me know, I just want to make sure I'm informing you of the right location that we're looking at here live. Tsunami. This is the Santa Cruz North Harbor that you're seeing. This is a live look at the Santa Cruz North Harbor. You can see the police activity there. They're warning folks to steer clear of the shoreline and the water. Of course, this threat is going to remain. You can see more activity through here as well. So again, please be mindful. Share this with family and friends. This is real. I had a couple of folks ask me, is this real? Is there really a tsunami advisory? Yes, this is for the entire West Coast, not just the state of California. This includes Oregon, British Columbia, Alaska, and Washington as well. So as this continues to be a level of threat for folks here in the Bay Area, we will keep you posted. Some of the bigger threats as well will include areas in Oakland, really all of the areas close to water. That's going to be the concern there. Think about Fisherman's Wharf out through Oakland, the marina as well, and in through parts of Monterey, already starting to notice some activity. But what you're looking at here is the Santa Cruz area. So don't head out to the water, steer clear, wait until the message has been removed, which means you will be in the safe area there. Now, I do also want to talk about things that you need to look out for when you start to notice the activity there. So the National Weather Service is saying that right now is when San Francisco is going to start noticing the increase in that energy wave, the higher waves, potentially 1 to 2 to 3 feet in increase in height, and also paired that up with high tide, which is at around 9:09. That's when we could see those low-lying areas start to flood. So areas near the water, the parking lot areas, the parking spaces, also a lot of the trails near the water. That's when the waves start really taking an impact, is when we could start seeing some of the flooding happen there, which is why you want to move to higher inland areas, higher ground, and just wait until we get the all clear. All right, so I'm going to have another update of, what the biggest threats are coming up in a few minutes, but I'm going to send it over back to Kira.
VNA, thank you for all of that information. If you're just joining us, we are following breaking news this morning. A tsunami advisory has been issued for the west coast of the U.S. from Alaska down here to California, impacting the entire shoreline of the Bay Area. This is because of an undersea volcanic eruption that happened in the South Pacific. You just saw a time-lapse video of the volcano erupting near the island of Tonga. We have new video into our newsroom this morning of flooding and these strong tsunami waves hitting the island nation. There is the threat of that tsunami water flooding low-lying coastal areas, and you can see it there. This is just into our newsroom. Here locally, California, Oregon, Washington, Alaska, and British Columbia could all be impacted by tsunami waves flooding low-lying coastal areas. We have this live look for you at the Santa Cruz North Harbor. VNA was just showing you. We are getting information from our photographer on the ground there that the water levels are rising and it is beginning to flood the parking lot area. Police are out there telling people to go away. We do see some rubberneckers out there trying to see what's going on this morning. But as VNA was detailing, that's exactly what you don't want to do, because you don't know how quickly a tsunami wave could impact our waters here and wash up and hit us with rogue waves. Again, this is Santa Cruz North Harbor, and we also have information from the Berkeley Harbor, the Alameda County Sheriff, asking people to evacuate that area as well. This is brand new video into our newsroom showing the flooding near the Santa Cruz Harbor. You can see that car tried to get through it and got stuck. Maybe that car was actually parked and got stuck. So again, this is nothing to mess around with. VNA was warning all of us to just stay away from the coast this morning, and that's the best thing to do. Just about 7 minutes ago, we were expecting the waters affected by the tsunami to hit San Francisco, and we're still waiting for high tide to hit around 9:09 this morning. So again, that brand new information of that car half submerged in the Santa Cruz Harbor because the waters are rising and flooding the parking lot. This is a tweet from Santa Cruz County telling people possible danger includes bays and harbors. Please avoid the water as well, including surfing and other water activities. Stay back from the shore. So again, we can say it up, down, and sideways. Stay away from the water this morning. It's not worth going out to check out what's going on and potentially putting yourself in danger. Let's go back to meteorologist Vianney Arana for more on what's going on right now.
Yeah, and I do want to take you through a bit of an explainer about what a tsunami is and how this initially triggered the tsunami advisory. If you're just now waking up and learning all of the details, there is a tsunami warning that was issued for American Samoa following an underwater volcano eruption that registered as a 7.6 magnitude earthquake in strength. So that's what sends all of that dangerous energy rushing. So what is a tsunami? If we can head on over to our next weather computer so I can show you exactly what I'm talking about when I'm talking about tsunamis. What is a tsunami? I'm going to take you through this. So the earth plates rub together, causing an underwater earthquake, hence the volcano eruption. So the eruption of that volcano triggered an earthquake-like strength, which if you notice in the fault lines down below. Now, once that earth's plates rub together, causing an underwater earthquake, an earthquake causes a vertical push of seawater. And you can see it here played out in this graphic. Now, as that vertical push of seawater pushes up, the wave spreads into shallower waters, which grows in height, which is why the threat of 1 to 2 to 3 feet is currently active in the West Coast. So we're not expecting complete inundation, but it still remains a threat as that earthquake causes a vertical push of seawater. This means that the waves spread into shallow waters, hence the coastlines, the low-lying areas. And as it grows in height, it generates even more dangerous conditions. Now, what are we expecting here for the West Coast? Well, the National Weather Service has issued a tsunami advisory, which is a less level threat than a tsunami warning, but it's still a threat. And this includes California, Oregon, Washington, British Columbia, Alaska, which is the message of move away from the water because of those strong currents and dangerous waves. And as that rise in waters continues 1 to 3 feet, it could catch you off guard if you're casually walking. It could seem like the water's backing off just a bit. And then as that dangerous energy creeps in, that's when we see the rise in waters, and that can easily sweep you into the water. So the highlighted areas, think of Oakland, the Fisherman's Wharf area, down through Monterey, you saw the Santa Cruz Mountain area near the Oakland ports, any of the marinas, you want to just head to higher water. And here's a live look right now. We do have police activity monitoring the Santa Cruz area. We've already seen some of those low-lying areas begin to flood. Now that tsunami was expected to make its arrival in through San Francisco at about 8:10. So they're starting to see the impacts and the energy movement through there. High tide is at 9:09 in the San Francisco area, and that's when we could see some of those strongest gushing waves through that stretch, which is why, we're going to continue to tell you, hey, stay away from the water. I had a couple of viewers who said they were out on a nice early morning walk. Maybe they didn't see the advisories and they started to notice that the water was getting choppy, and now they know why. So call your friends and family, let them know, especially if you have friends or family that lives near the water, that a 1 to 3 foot rise in waves, can be a really big impact. And again, if you're just now joining us, I do want to take you through this explainer of what is a tsunami if you're just now tuning in and you're maybe unaware. So we did see that underwater volcano triggered, and this was off of the island in Tonga, what was an earthquake-like strength. So here you go. You can see the spot here. This is off of American Samoa, right near the island of Tonga. That underwater volcano eruption registered as a 7.6 magnitude earthquake strength. So that just gives you the idea of how much energy is generated to create this tsunami. So what is a tsunami? Well, let me guide you through it so you can have a better understanding of why these can be such a big threat. You might have seen this in movies. You think that initial big sweep, and it's not just in movies. We've seen this happen, throughout the years. So let's take a look as far as the state of California, though ours is an advisory. But I do want to take you through this guide to just kind of give you an idea of what we're monitoring. So Earth's plates rub together, causing an underwater earthquake. So the fault line there, that underwater volcano triggered earthquake-like strength, hence the rising of the water. There we go. The earthquake causes a vertical push of that seawater, and that's what they saw in that area near the islands of Tonga. And as that vertical push of seawater goes up, then the strength of these waves and the energy generated spreads into shallower waters, which then grows in height. Based on the proximity and, of course, the distance to where this initially happens, the height and strengths of these waves can vary in sizes, but the threat of this will remain for the next several hours. The reason for that is because of the energy that is generated. So even if the high tide ends at 9:09 or the arrival of this wave is at 8:10 in San Francisco, you still want to move away from the water. And that National Weather Service that issued that advisory for the West Coast, they did rule out complete inundation, and the biggest threats, again, strong currents and dangerous waves. Kira, I'll send it back to you.
Well, V&A, you were just talking about that 9 a.m. cutoff, and the National Weather Service for the Bay Area just tweeted that while initial tsunami waves are starting to impact the Central Coast and will continue through 9 a.m., this will be a prolonged event as additional pulses continue throughout the day. Highest wave heights may occur later in waves. So again, that reminder that even though things are expected to calm down around 9 this morning, it still won't be safe to go out and see what's going on along the coast or along the shorelines pretty much throughout the day today. Again, we're bringing you this breaking news because of a tsunami advisory that has been issued for the West Coast that impacts all of us here in the Bay Area. It's from Alaska down to California, and that's because of this, an underwater volcano that erupted near the island of Tonga late last night into this morning. The tsunami warning is in effect for those islands in the South Pacific, but there is the threat of those tsunami waves flooding low-lying coastal areas here because of how the Pacific Ocean is sort of rippling. This is new video just into our newsroom of flooding and rushing water in Tonga. You can see that entire, is that a church? Just gushing water flooding those pews. And here locally, there is the fear that low-lying areas could get flooded as well. This is the Santa Cruz North Harbor, where we have crews seeing police evacuating people off their boats, trying to get them out of the water. We saw that water was flooding the parking lot there, and that could start to come up the coast as we see the morning progress. High tide already hitting Santa Cruz right now. You can see first responders, fire trucks responding as well. And we had video of one person who got stuck in that high water, a truck either trying to make it through or parked in the parking lot of the harbor. You can see all the way up to the door. That truck is stuck now in the Santa Cruz Harbor. And again, this could be happening up into the Bay Area as the day progresses. The tsunami advisory affecting our shorelines in the Bay Area. Santa Cruz County tweeted that the possible danger includes bays and harbors. Please avoid the water as well, and that includes surfing and other water activities. Stay back from the shore. So that also includes people who want to come and see what's going on. Just avoid the waters altogether. We also have the warning from Alameda County asking people to evacuate in the Berkeley Harbor. So that explains to us that it's not just people along the coast. The bay waters are at risk of rising as well. This is a look at that Berkeley Harbor. It's a gloomy morning out there, and we want to make sure people stay inside and stay away from these possible rising waters. Again, if you're just joining us, the Bay Area is under a tsunami advisory because of an underwater volcano eruption that happened off the coast of Tonga. We had the impact was similar to a 7.6 magnitude quake, as V&A was explaining to us. And that powerful rupture underwater is sending tsunami strength waves to the Bay Area. This is time lapse of that underwater volcano eruption. And it is impacting us all these thousands of miles away in the Bay Area. Let's check in with meteorologist Vianney Arana for the latest now. Hey, Vianney.
Hey there. And I do want to start out with an initial shot of, where the advisories are in the West Coast and where this initially happened, because, this is something that it went from a tsunami warning where that underwater volcano eruption initially happened in American Samoa, but it registering as a 7.6 magnitude earthquake in strength is what triggers tsunamis. And I am going to take you through an explainer of what a tsunami is. As you know, large tsunamis here in the state of California are not necessarily common, but the threat of tsunamis is still real. So as of right now, the National Weather Service, heading on over to our advisory on our second graphic here, National Weather Service has issued a tsunami advisory for the entire West Coast. This includes California, Oregon, Washington, British Columbia. Now, the U.S. advisory is a lower level threat than a tsunami warning, but it is still a threat. At the time, the National Weather Service has ruled out widespread inundation, and this is according to the National Weather Service. However, people in or near the water could expect strong currents and dangerous waves, which is why we are urging folks to move off of the beach, because we could see a 1 to 3 foot rise in those waves, especially for the highlighted areas. Notice it includes Oakland, San Francisco, Marin, down through Monterey County, the Santa Cruz County area as well. We've already seen police activity stretching through this zone. Now, here's a closer look at how to prepare. So we saw that tsunami was expected to reach San Francisco right around 8:10. So you're going to start to notice some of that energy being generated. Also near the Del Monte Beach, we've seen some wave run up onto the beach. So move higher inland and steer clear of the water. That strong energy can easily sweep you in. Kira, I'll send it back to you.
Vianney, thanks. Before we go, we want to show you one last look, I believe, at the Berkeley Marina, where the Alameda County Sheriff's Office is tweeting, or the Office of Emergency Services, I should say. They are telling people to get out of your boat and get off the docks now. It's an evacuation order due to the tsunami advisory. The tsunami strength waters, the waves that could hit the Bay Area at any time throughout this morning, and the rising levels of the waters. They want people out of the water and to stay safe. You can stay up to date with us on NBCBayArea.com and on our NBC Bay Area app. We will continue to bring you the very latest throughout the day.